Welcome to Parents Make a Difference. I'm your host, JosiePV. In life, we need resilience. We're all going to come across obstacles that we need to overcome. Life is never going to go exactly the way we want it to go. But it is amazing how we can find stories around us of people who are overcoming whatever obstacle comes their way. And they're willing to share with us how they overcome and how they gain resilience. Today, I'm excited to speak to Liana Cancian, and she wrote she wrote a book called Shining Through. And so I'd like to welcome to Parents Make a Difference, Liana.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And there is the cover of your book, Shining Through. I love what you wrote underneath that. Finding the balance between heartache and hope while raising a child with special needs. Your transformative journey is what you share in this book. That you have 4 children, correct?
I do. I do. I have 4 children and a husband.
I don't want to forget him. He's important.
Very, yeah.
So what gave you the passion to write this story, to write this book, Shining Through? What experience?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a mother, as you mentioned, to 4. My second child, who is now 18, was diagnosed at birth with seizures. So it's been a lifelong 18 years battle of dealing with raising her and all the hurdles that comes along with raising a child with special needs. I really didn't think my story was any different or important than anybody else's, except once I had a conversation with a really good friend in my town, and she is a publisher, also a writer, and we had a nice chat, and I explained to her my journey and my experiences, and she urged me to write them down, to share them with the world. She helped me give, I guess, my story life. She's like birthing a new baby. So it was a wonderful experience, very cathartic for me to put all those feelings and those experiences that I had tucked away, hidden for so long and so many years that even my own family members have no idea, I guess, what I was feeling. So putting them on paper, I guess, legitimizes the feelings, the experiences, brought them to life, brought them to the surface, helped me cope. And again, it was for me, it was helping myself heal, but also leaving a legacy to my children, because I have 2 older children and I have 2 younger children. And the younger kids do not know what life was like raising that special daughter. Her name is Olivia. So I wanted to leave this legacy for them for years to come, when they become adults, when they become parents, when they're going through hard times, when things are really tough. I'm hoping it teaches them compassion, it teaches them resilience, and, kind of in a way they can say, well, what did mom do during this time? So I really hope it helps them. And at the end of the day, I really hope it helps so many other people who are joining that journey or that path somewhere along the path, whether they're in diagnosis phase or whether they're just coping through the day-to-day of dealing with a child. I'm hoping it can give them some courage, give them some positive reinforcement that there is glimpses of hope and silver linings every day that we have to pay attention to, that allow us to keep propelling forward. So that kind of was my mission, I guess, my inspiration, why I wrote the book.
Share a little bit with us of your journey from having a special need child, what the situation was, anything that you'd like to share to help parents listening understand what you went through.
Um, It's fairly long, but to put it in a bit of a nutshell, she was diagnosed with something very rare to this day. We really still don't have a diagnosis. It's a rare genetic mutation with a zero name to it. So it's been a lifelong journey of seizures, uncontrolled seizures. To this day, she still has seizures on a daily basis, to give you an idea.
Wow.
Um, the book touches upon our life of raising her and, you know, never really hitting milestones, following that race of trying to meet the milestone to become somewhat normal, but then surpassing that, obviously, because that goal ended up being something that was never attained. So learning to deal with that bit of disappointment, accepting the unacceptable, truly, because it took me very, very long for me to realize this is something that I can't change. And when you are an A-type personality like myself that likes to have control, raising your arms up and saying, okay, I have to accept that I cannot control this. That's very hard. And then in a nutshell, we did surgery. So it touches upon brain surgery at the age of 3, and they gave us some wonderful statistics that it would work. And unfortunately, it did not. Moving forward, we moved to Colorado. We were the second Canadian family that moved to Colorado due to a wonderful advancement through a YouTube video that was shown. Cannabis was a treatment at that time that became legalized and used for therapy. It was very promising. So myself and 200 families in North America moved to Colorado for a good 7, 8 months to receive this treatment, all on a whim that it was going to work, with hope in our hearts. So the book touches upon my experience in Colorado, the cannabis journey, being kind of the pioneers, because at that time nobody knew anything about cannabis or how it would even work on epilepsy. So being, I guess, me amongst many families, learning as I went along, and then just trying everything from ketogenic diets to lots of different naturopathic remedies. I feel pretty confident today, although she is still having seizures and extremely developmentally delayed and quite complex in her needs. I still feel confident in my heart, and it's probably taking me 18 years to get to this point, that I've done everything in my power on this earth to give her the best possible life. And this is the realm, I think, that she was meant to be in. It's coming to terms that she was brought in this earth on a different path, in a different dimension. And I don't think we were ever meant to be living the same type of life. It was almost me living my life in coinciding with hers. So her life, unfortunately, just doesn't mesh with ours because she just has different needs and things that make her, happy. So keeping her happy in her world is my, I guess, number one goal every day. My mission is to keep her happy and joyful and feeling loved. And I guess the biggest thing too was deciding to have more children. So it took me about 8 years for me to decide to have more kids, and then I had 2 after that. So that, I think, was quite big, and I talk about that in my book as well. It's a big number one question that a lot of people seem to struggle with. And so it's been a journey of discovering and rediscovering and trying to understand what this all means, and why us, and I guess stop blaming ourselves or blaming anybody, but owning what we have and finding the beauties behind this, I guess, so-called lifelong sentence, for lack of better terms, trying to understand that there is a purpose and a reason behind all of this. So I truly feel that I was meant to be her mom, and my husband was meant to be her dad, and all her siblings were hand chosen to be her siblings, because we all are learning from her. And I hope she's getting something from us in this earthly journey of hers.
What are you learning from her?
Patience, acceptance, uh, resilience, um, learning that life doesn't go as planned, and learning how to re-navigate and finding happiness within that. So finding happiness, I guess, within your darkest hours when things are really hard. How do I still raise up and wake up in the morning and be happy for
Mhm.
everybody else? So it's an art,
How
you
do
know,
you do
it's
that then? How do you do that?
um I think focusing on all the goodness that's around me. My children, my other children, who give me so much joy. I have little daughters, little girls who are 10 and 11, and they are like an ray of sunshine. My son, who, when I look at him today, I'm so proud of the young man that he's become. And I truly think it's because he was raised from a family of hardship and pain. He's become this young man that's way beyond his years. And I never thought he would ever turn out like that. But I'm proud. I mean, so seeing all that around me and a husband that is so devoted, and we're devoted to Olivia and keeping her happy. So I keep saying, God, I know there's so many things that could have been, but I love what I have. And I know that things could be 20 times worse. And that I truly feel in a heartbeat that things can be so much worse. She's breathing, she's happy, she laughs every day, she's
Beautiful.
well taken care of. And every teacher of hers or anybody that knows her will say, she's a ray of sunshine. She's a butterfly. So we've kind of devoted her whole room to a butterfly sanctuary room, but she really is a butterfly. She floats through life above everybody, oblivious of the world around her, happy.
I find that as a teacher, and working at times with special needs children that come across in my class, the compassion that I see from the other children, the love is just so heartwarming. It's like maybe their need helps people to have more compassion. And to see that is so heartwarming because um, sometimes people are in their own world and they forget to be compassionate. But when you see someone who's in need, someone who has less in different areas, and then you want to help, and it's coming right from the heart, and there's not that, sometimes there's jealousy between people, and there's things like that. But sometimes that barrier, those artificial layers come off around
Hmm.
children with special needs,
That's right.
which is a gift to
It
see.
is. She has a beautiful room. It's like a Zen room. And everyone in this family loves going down there and even spending 5, 10 minutes with her or half an hour, because I feel that room feels joyful. It feels free, free of judgment, free of materialism, free of just it's a feeling of just letting go and she's truly a perfect example of extreme and joyful energy. There's nothing she doesn't understand, I guess, feelings of jealousy
Mhm.
or holding a grudge. She's just true genuine joy. So it's when you're around someone like that, it's very infectious. And we all feel so great when we go down there and we sit with her and we all come back up all regenerated. So it really makes a difference for sure. And it's funny that you say that about compassion because when I met with the teachers of my kids, I never ever tell them about Olivia, and I don't think my daughters do either. And then through the interview, we kind of talk about it. I think through word of mouth, they might have heard. And then they said, it makes sense now. Um, because, two in particular, they said they are so compassionate that we just thought, wow, like they're, anyway, and now they said it kind of makes sense that they have a sister because it's evident and that you see it through their actions in class. And those are things that are not taught It's just things that are learned, I guess, and you are what you see, right? We're all a product of our environment.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to say, and I hope it continues. So,
Now, as you're traveling through this journey, and it sounds like she is bringing light, even with all the hardship. There's a lot of light there. There's a lot of joy, because seeing compassion from your kids, seeing, feeling, it sounds like you feel a lot of joy just making her smile, right? That puts a lot of joy in your life. I love the fact that you said, I changed, in a sense, what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, you changed your perspective. You started to look at what's beautiful in your life, what good things are going on in your life, taking from, no matter what hardship is going on in your life, no matter um, what, how you're, trying to help this daughter achieve more and grow and want to make her happy, but you started to focus on the good, the good in
yeah.
your life. So was that a big turning point in helping you to live a more life with joy, a life that you are feeling more at peace and happy within yourself?
Absolutely, but that unfortunately doesn't happen overnight. That takes time. I think it took me 10 years because for the first 10 years, I felt that I was trying so hard. I was on this wheel, this rat wheel, trying so hard to catch her up, to get her back to being, you know, caught up with what she's missing, to get her, I guess, to be normal, really, in a sense. Fitting in is really to fit in. Um, and then it got to a point where I was losing that battle day after day, and the problems got bigger. And and then I think I needed some intervention myself to come to terms that I can't change this. And this is where I say, I accepting the unacceptable. So I needed a little bit of assistance in that to help me realize and see that I have done everything in my power. There's nothing else I can possibly do. This is what it is. We have to now start loving Olivia for who she is. It's easy to say that, but very hard to do. But it did take me it took me years to get to that point, and some professional, I guess, help, just to tell me, like, kind of laying it all down and saying, this is all the things you've done, and these are all the things that didn't work. And this is where she's at, and this is probably where she will be at. So how do you see your life going forward if we continue to be in this doom and gloom and, stay on this pity train? And it's true. And it took me a while, but once I understood that. And then the other great story was a wonderful, wonderful doctor that I have. He said to me, Olivia is like a golden retriever. And I have that in my book because she is loved. She feels love no matter what, no matter where she is, whether she's with you or your parents or your nanny or your babysitters or teachers. As long as she's feeling the love and her needs are met, then she will be happy. And it's true. So we have to start focusing on ourselves. Like he meant saying, you need to start focusing on your family, your husband, your children, your other children who need you a lot more, because Olivia, as long as her needs are met and she's happy, you going away for a weekend or a night or spending some time with your other kids won't change anything. She'll still be as happy from when you left to when you come back. Like and it's true. Olivia is truly joyful and happy with everybody she's with. So that is where I'm lucky. When you put that down and you kind of realize all the things that, the personality that she has, I am quite lucky and fortunate that she has a beautiful personality that works well with everyone. So once I heard that and I understood that, I started to change my way of living and started to see life a little differently. And I took more time with my other kids because I knew that that investment in those other children were going to benefit me a lot more down the road. And my husband obviously is strengthening the marriage as well.
So parents who might be listening may not be going through the same thing as you, but having kids, there's always obstacles we need to overcome. There's always things we need to push through. There is always issues that arise because life is never just, you know, smooth sailing. It's always going to be like this. Every household is different. But as they say, the grass is not greener on the other side. Everybody's got something that they're going through. So, I
Yeah,
mean, it's great advice to try to accept and try to look at the good of what that child already has. We can always talk about all the things we need to work on. We can always talk about um, all the, what else can we do? That's fine, but really enjoying that person in the moment and looking at the beautiful, like you were able to say about your daughter, that she's, you know, good with people, she's happy and joyful. And when we're in our own hardship, we don't tend to see the
no,
beauty that's right in front of us. And so
yeah,
I would encourage parents, and sometimes I need to encourage myself to kind of, you know, um, try to be in the moment and enjoy the person, the children that we have, just the way they are, faults and all. They don't clean up their room, they don't do this, they don't do that. We've got a list of what we probably want them to do and how they, you know, we would wishes that we want them to grow up and achieve certain things and so forth, but appreciating for who they are because there's so much beauty. And people actually shine when we see the beauty right now in them and their potential
that's right.
and when we have one that's very um, has a lot of need, we seem to go to that one in response, but then the other ones need us too. And so I think that's so important that you took the time to spend with the other ones because they are feeling, I need mom too.
Yeah.
I need mom too. So I'm so glad that you're able to do that and realize that. Do you have any advice for parents who might not be there? We're worried, we're worried and about our kids, and that's absorbing us, and it's hard to see the light. What advice would you give them?
To not give up, um, that your family needs you, that you have to come to terms that it isn't your only battle. It's not your battle to take on. That there are other kids in the household, if there are other kids that need you probably just as much, but don't show it. They are probably suffering in silence. And honestly, just reaching out for help, because it's so hard to say that we need help, but once we get help, it's the best thing of all. They help us see things that we just don't see. We're hiding behind a protective lens, that protects us, obviously, right? Restores or preserves our dignity. And it's breaking that away and actually showing your flaws and all, or showing your deep and darkest secrets and all the feelings that you feel. It's hard to own those feelings, but if you can talk to someone that will help you break down your life and maybe give you a better visual of what it will look like, or what we should do to see things a bit better. But for me, it was looking at, I always call them the glimpses of hope, the silver linings. So again, those silver linings for me down in the book were, um, having a helper that would come, a young girl that would come and help me once or twice a week. I didn't realize at the time, but she was my saving grace. It was having a special nurse at the hospital when she needed stitches. My gosh, she was just like a godsend, and she made our experience so much more enjoyable and meaningful. And those are all little things that you don't think about, but you have, if you really stop and think, let's say, today, break it down today. What were the little things today that made that day so much better because of that? Could be a person, could be a thing. But again, opening our eyes and recognizing it allows us to just not always be in doom and gloom, but be a little bit more happy and cheerful and appreciative. And then then we call it a day and we move on to the next day. It helps us to honestly to propel forward. And obviously the accepting the unacceptable is a big one. Once you come to terms and you realize, listen, this child is different and they are meant to come on this earth in this dimension. And you were meant to live, you were meant to coincide with this person's life. Their life might not fit into your life. It's not necessarily like a hand in glove. And that's what I guess, those are the dreams that we had when we gave birth to our kids, where we were envisioning their future and walking down the aisle and, being there for their first babies. And so when you get these diagnoses, and depending on how severe it is, those get destroyed instantly. So it's trying to find joy now in something that was taken away from you, right? So trying to find joy now in something different, in a different form. So for me, it might not be Olivia ever living independently or getting married and having kids. But for me, it's seeing Olivia happy and laughing and being so, just day after day, just happy. When her own show is on, or when she's outside and I see her looking at the butterflies or my dog, she's just like, she's happy.
I
To
love
me,
that it
that,
brings you more in the moment, because
yes,
sometimes, we're thinking so much of the past or of the future, but actually just seeing a smile, just creating a smile, helping to make her happy and to create the smile, you're really living right in the moment. you
yeah,
know it reminds me of, sometimes, some you might know someone who doesn't have much time to live, and so you think, how am I going to just brighten their day today? And you just are living in that moment. What am I going to do to just make them smile? And there's something so precious of that, and that's a gift. That's a gift, her bringing the moment, living in the moment at that
yes,
time. I love the way you said that you would reflect on little things that made you happy that day, right? I've been working on a journal, and that's one of the things. It's like my happy moments for
yeah,
today. Sometimes I do that with my children at the table. So what was your happy moment? What was your happy moment today? And sometimes it was, one kid would say it was coming home, or another one, they all had something different to say, but refocusing. And there's something about that, refocusing on what gives you joy. Something changes within your body and in your thoughts when you focus on small things that gave you joy that day. And I love that you use that strategy, because it's a strategy that anyone could be using no matter what we're going through. And it helps us to be more resilient. It helps us to overcome um, so much more. Such a small technique
yeah,
as that is a powerful one. It's changing
yeah,
perspective. It's putting a smile on your face when you're actually thinking of the things that brought you joy. Now, I don't know about you, but there was a point where I was trying to be more thankful, and I felt more numb in my life because of maybe everything I was going through at that time. And I knew there was power to being grateful, to looking for happy moments, but I couldn't find them at that moment. I kind of had to push myself to do it. And so I kind of
mhm,
went through the motions, and I just kept going through the motions, but feeling kind of numb. But then all of a sudden, I started to feel something. I started to feel more gratitude. I started to feel more joy. I was able to pick more happy moments, but I had to start putting myself in motion even when I felt nothing. Did you
yeah.
feel like that at all? I don't know if that resonates with anything.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I talk a lot about balancing guilt with gratitude. So it's having, and I talk about it in one of the chapters. There's a guy that anyway, I wrote it in the book. There's a writer who writes about guilt and pain, and he talks about holding both guilt and gratitude in two different hands. And the more guilt that you have in one hand, and the more feelings, obviously, things get one outweighs the next. And so it's really filling this other hand with gratitude. So even though you feel terrible and guilty and you have all these horrible feelings of, I wish she was normal. I wish she was born differently. I wish she had a better life. I wish she could, talk and, um, be more present. And then this other hand, you're trying so hard to find something that you're grateful for. And they're talking about when those are balanced, the more you can find things that you're happy and grateful for, the better the balance is. And then this way it kind of helps you deal with that, that imbalance. Because if one is off center, like if one is obviously, if the hand that's holding all the guilt and the anger and the anguish overflows, then you're obviously, you're in no man's land. You're not doing well. So I remembered that, and I always tried to think in every bad situation, I tried to think of what I was grateful for. Same idea, I guess, as what we're talking. Um, and at times it was family. It was having my family around me, having my friends who are always checking in on me. Like there are people that are doing this battle alone. And I was grateful that I had that. Having a husband who was very supportive of whatever decision I made. He knew that I was on. I was in charge. I was doing what I needed to do. So those were really big things. And then for me, it was my faith. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to say I'm a off the charts religious person, but I do have a lot of faith. And many times I would pray deep in my heart and I would say, listen, please give me a reason as to why, or what can I do? Give me the strength to just go on every day, day after day, and find some inner peace to keep going. That's all I wanted, was the strength to keep going, because it's at times it just gets unbearable. And I'll be honest, I did it enough. There was times at the end of the day, I still kept waking up and still kept going. And I used to say maybe it was my mom's prayers, 'cause she's very religious, but I truly feel it was my faith that allowed me to just keep going and persevering and not be such a damper, and try to see the light and try to be a little more optimistic and try to see that glass half full.
Mhm.
I don't think I could have done that without him, for me
I,
anyway.
I, a faith is very important in my life, and I love that you shared that. We don't have to be talking about faith; you can just live it. But
Yeah.
for those parents out there, I do encourage you, whatever your religion, whatever your spirituality, to know that there is something greater than us that wants to help us. Whether you call it God, you call it the universe, um, and to know that we can surrender our life to God, to help us. And I've seen amazing things happen because of that. But yeah, that's definitely an important part of a lot of people who are struggling, is moving into their faith, into their spirituality, and that really helps them to live a life with more purpose, with more love, with more compassion, um, and more joy, in my opinion. I There is, sometimes we feel helpless. We wish we could do more, um, and we think, what can we do? It's just one person, but there is power in one person. And I love that you shared with me the other day how they didn't have funds for the music program at the high school of your daughter, and you chose to take action. Can you share a little bit about that story?
Yes, I came to realization that my daughter didn't have a music program at school. I really didn't. I wasn't aware of that at all. I didn't know that there was even a music program offered. But a couple years ago, they had a beautiful program offered by a local music company in our town, and it was offered at that school to these special needs children, this special group, 2 years ago. And then last year it had stopped. And then this year I heard that they couldn't continue it again. And I had no idea. And so I looked into it and they said it was a lack of funds. It was a lack, I guess there was a cut from the school board. They didn't have the funds. They needed funds. The music company can only cover so much for it to happen. So I said, well, I'm thinking of these children, my daughter, I'm sure there's a lot of other kids that are very similar to my daughter who is nonverbal. Um, Music is their form of communication, expression, their love. It makes the day exciting. Raising her the last 18 years, we always talk to her kind of in a melodic tone. We sing a lot and we say a lot of things in a bit of a song, and that is how she understands us. It's kind of funny, but we do. So when we sing, or when there is a high pitched voice and we're saying things in a certain tone, she responds and her eyes go big and bright and she's listening to every word we say. So I can just imagine that there are so many other kids just like her that are nonverbal and that use music as this form of expression. So I made it a mission. I said, okay, we're going to do this. And I sent a message out to everybody that I knew and explained that this is a program that, we are lacking funds. I'd love to raise money for them to have this program. And within 5 minutes, I got a message to some random person who said, oh my God, it made me cry. And he said, I had a sister who was 12 who passed when she was 12. And he says, and I wish you were around to, oh, sorry, I don't want to get emotional, but I wish you were around um, to be there for her, to be her voice, because this would have been so amazing for her too in her elementary school. So he says, absolutely. How much is it? What do I owe? I'll pay the whole thing. I was just dumbfounded. I was frozen. I just couldn't, I was thinking that I was gonna, collect a little bit, maybe it would take me a month or two. I was frozen. And I just, anyway, so then I picked up the check, I gave him a big hug, and I just said, oh my gosh, I wasn't planning on that. I didn't, you really don't have to pay the whole thing. He says, oh my gosh, if I know that it's going to children that truly, this is their form of education. This is their form of expression. They do not take classes like every other kid. They don't take science and math and geography. They do dance, music, and maybe culinary, like for the high needs kids. So if this is all that they need and want to to look forward to going to school and to enjoy school, then they should have it. And I thought, I agree. So
Wow.
it was amazing. And then she needed instruments because I guess over time these kids, they're rough on the instruments and they needed to
Mhm.
be replaced. And again, I sent another message and I got 5 other families donating all of their instruments that I guess we all have instruments sitting around with our little kids, and beautiful brand new instruments. So I dropped them all off and I said, enjoy the program. I hope the kids really enjoy the program.
That's
So
amazing.
I think there
See?
are so many people there with their hands on their hearts, and sometimes they just
Yeah.
need a purpose or they need someone to orchestrate it.
And you had
And
the guts to say something. See, you
I
had
did, I
the
did.
courage to go out and seek. Because, a lot of us might say, oh, and just kind of feel like there's nothing we can do. This is
No.
disappointing, and talk about the problem. But instead, you took action and you tried to see for a solution. And so I encourage parents out there, whatever you're going through, sometimes we have solutions at our fingertips. Sometimes it takes just a voice. You don't know who will be helping you to go to the next level, and whatever you need. If you need someone to help your child with reading because they're lacking. I remember with one of my boys, I wasn't able to give him extra services. It was difficult, so I ended up getting a student from across the street. You don't know who can volunteer, who you might pay minimal because they're looking for some. A student might be looking for work, and you can give them minimum wage, and they can help you out. You never know, but the power of one, the power being thinking outside the box, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it made me think of Terry Fox. Who would think that Terry Fox could start something that now we do all over the world? And we're raising money for cancer. There is so much power in one, and we all have that. So I encourage parents out there listening, if there is an obstacle, that think outside the box. What can you do with what you already have? You did something, Liana. You just picked up the phone and started calling people. not knowing, but you had something in you that says, I'm going to try. And so I encourage parents to try whatever your need is with your children, situation. Maybe you need the self help. Maybe you need to be talking to someone. I encourage you to do something about it. Take action. Don't focus on the problem. Try to focus on solutions. And that's what I see you doing, Liana. I see you working and helping to be an advocate for for children with special needs, an advocate for the siblings, an advocate for compassion, for being compassionate for others, an advocate for helping us to see the light, even when we don't think there is light, but to find it. And because we find it, we can live with more joy. And I loved hearing your story. I thank you. I thank you, Liana, for joining us on Parents Make a Difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful experience.
I wish you much luck with your book, Shining Through.
Thank
And
you.
you might be doing podcasts in the future,
Yeah,
right? I'm sure
that
there's
is.
a big need to hear more people teaching resilience. And that is something I picked up from you. Your children that are listening or that will be reading your book, your own
Mhm.
children, you
Yeah.
want them to know that resilience is important. What message do you want to leave your children?
Well, resilience is one of them. The other thing is compassion. I want them to go through life feeling and being compassionate to everybody, despite their needs, despite their demographic, that they should be kind and compassionate. To me, if somebody is kind and compassionate, they can do great things. It's the number one pillar in my family, more than anything else, is to be kind and compassionate. And then of course, resilience and never giving up. Is just keep trying and keep putting one foot in front of the other. And with time, things always get better. So never giving up, supporting each other. So that's, and two of them haven't read it yet. They're kind of young a little bit. I told them to wait. But my son read it, and I think it's funny when a child reads a parent's book. But he loved it, and he said, "Mom, I might not be able to relate right now, but I'm sure one day when I'm maybe, older and have a family of my own, I can see me opening up this book time after time and
Beautiful.
taking little." And that was exactly what I wanted to hear. I said, and
Beautiful.
that was why I wrote it.
I'm sure
So,
it's going to touch a lot of people's lives. For anyone who wants to purchase it, where can they get it?
so I have it on Amazon. So you can go on Amazon, type
Super.
in my name and the title, and it is there.
Super. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Leanna.
Thank you.
Appreciate this time with you and just wish great things for you and your family. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Parents, remember, you make a difference.